Welcome back. We are taking off this turbo that we just got done fully tuning. I already went and disconnected some things, a little bit of lines, pulled the radiator, drained that guy first because it just takes a while to drain. We do not have injectors. All our fuel stuff's off already, but that's not related to turbo stuff, but I'll get back to that shortly once we pull this turbo. All right, should be able to pull this off now. That's what the exhaust side of the head looks like. There's the 3.5-inch downpipe, the oil drain line, feed, coolant lines, things like that. I'm going to put some paper towels in the ports. I'm going to cover up the oil drain line, or the oil feed line over there, and then I'm going to plug that oil drain line down there. I don't want anything getting in there. I'm going to have to plug that up too. That lower intercooler pipe had to come off. It was really weird. Didn't want to come off, which I was like, okay. And it ended up coming off. I guess it's been on long enough that it didn't want to part ways. So I still have the gasket over here. The gasket still looks really good too. So I'm going to block this up. I'll tell you guys why I'm doing all this stuff. Why did I take the turbo off after we just finally got done tuning it? Why are my injectors missing? All valid questions. So I'm taking the turbo off because I did have a buyer for the 6466 kit. That buyer backed out, and what I'm looking to do now is I need to replace the flange on the manifold going to the turbo. And it's a V-band. While it may not leak, it's easier to sell with if it's a kit that's just ready to go versus one where it just needs work. And I'm looking to push this kit out. I don't plan on going back to a 6466. I'm wanting to have more room, you know, in my garage, but I'm also wanting to have more funds for parts and fun stuff. For the fabricator to fix what I need to have fixed, I need to put the 6466 manifold there, the turbo, and then I need to put the downpipe there. So I actually need to remove the 3.5-inch downpipe to be able to put in that old downpipe to make sure that everything mates accordingly once the flange is replaced. So that is why I have to pull that off. There were no cars around me that were able or down that I could borrow, so I had to do it on my own car. So that is why we're doing that. Get some new stuff, get some new parts. New parts are always fun. What else? Oh, injectors. Those are gone. Those 2150s I sent back to FIC because they kept, something was going on with them. One of them was stuck open, and I sent them back to FIC, and FIC calls me back and says that 3 are actually stuck open. The phenolic spacer is compromised, and their lifetime warranty doesn't apply to these injectors. So I have some 1650s coming my way. I'm not on a 6466 anymore, so I don't need 2150 injectors anymore. I need something a little smaller, and the 1650s are just right. I'm still gonna have plenty of fuel, so I'm waiting for those to get here. They should be here within a week. Rob should be able to come pick this car up from me sometime this week. So I really just needed to pull that turbo off and get that guy ready. So I'll have everything off to the side for when he comes and picks it up. That's why we're doing that. And then once I get this back, we start tuning. I'll see you guys when everything's nice and organized and Rob's ready to pick up the car. I don't think we're in Florida anymore. What up? The little brief break from our usual Florida weather. We got snowed in. It's gonna be a minute before Rob can get to me because of the snow, but my injectors came, which means now I need to focus on the fuel stuff. While we're here, instead of just focusing on the injectors, I also want to replace the micron filter that's in the inline filter from all the fuel out in Utah. I'm going to replace that filter because we're here, we're getting ready for a new tune. Change your filters, man. You're going for a new tune, change your filters. So that's going to get swapped out. A couple things are going to get rerouted. Let's grab some stuff. That's a fuel line. Had to open up the garage. I was getting a little fumey in here. Just shoot that guy with some brake clean. This is the filter. I'd say it looks pretty clean, man. This is I've been on the car a couple of years now. Set that guy over there. New one's right next to it. It's just like a little darker, but that's nothing not to be expected. There we go. Once you have your heat shrink done, I like to clean out my lines. I'm going to feed it through the top like I did before. Get it down there and then hook it onto that. These are the adapters for your injectors. The one thing I do enjoy about these FIC ones is that there is some heat shrink. There's some type of protective material around these wires. I don't like that these wires are just out and about. So I am gonna throw like a little protection around them, mitigate, you know, basically them getting damaged. So I'll probably electrical tape them, then throw a little cover on them, and then electric tape that. So it'll look something like this. In the end, opted for some zip ties. So I can still bend it if necessary, but this thing's still protected. This stuff was rubbing on the intake manifold and didn't seem to cause any damage. But having bare wires, I think, is not the greatest to see nor have. So just a little extra, man. Even if it's just a little heat shrink, I think that's better than nothing. So I'm gonna do these to the 4, and then I'll start replacing them one by one. Word. So I got the 4 swapped. Those other 4 adapters underneath. It's a little bit harder with my harness because it's underneath the intake manifold. Also, the car's up, so my hamstrings are absolutely feeling it, leaning over the sides. I think we're good to go. I think the only thing I need to do is install the injectors into the fuel rail, put the rail down, and then I should be able to start connecting connectors and everything else. New injectors. These are going to be the 1650s. Fuel lines are routed. I've got one hose that I want to look into, and it's this breather one right here. As far as things are looking right now, this is about as much as I can do with this car in the air. I'm still waiting to hear back when a good date is to get the fabrication done on the manifold. Well, car's back on the ground. I thought Rob was gonna need the car with the turbo and all the Hotside off. Turns out he does not, so that's all off now, and gonna jack the car up and get back on it. The unfortunate, well, I guess the fortunate part was that I saw there's a leak on the axle seal where the T-case is. Let me see if I can under there. There's a leak there. It's definitely T-case fluid. So we're gonna remove the axle, which means we're gonna be taking off the wheel, caliper, rotor, all that fun stuff, disconnect a bunch of stuff, replace that seal. Here's a very quick hint at what might be a couple of videos from now. Hey, that's 4-pot. Hey, that's a 6-pot. There you go. That's your little sneak peek. Throw some parts on now. Just needed to get a good leverage on it. That's the T case. That guy right there. And we're gonna grab that seal and I'm gonna swap it. Man, that thing sucked. I was trying to get it out with my screwdriver like this, but I guess the trick is to turn it like that. Use that to get it out. That's the seal down there. I'm gonna set up the new one, put that on. I'm gonna check out this axle, see if it can be reused or if it's time to replace it. Well, after looking for my tool, I thought I had a tool that would go around the, I guess the outer edge of this seal. I don't have something that'll do it here in the in my garage. So unfortunately, that's it as far as this new seal goes. See you guys when I get the right tool. It's beautiful. So I'm still waiting for the tool. I have the seal at the ready, I just don't have the right tool. I did get something else in the mail though. I'll be replacing some studs. Be going with the bronze titanium hardware. Felt the bronze color was going to be the best look when you open up the hood. That's the color I think I'm going to start going towards as far as my titanium bolt stuff. But yeah, so we're going to be removing all the exhaust studs off there. Going to be removing studs off the turbo as well, replacing those guys, but also got another little surprise too for the turbo. So before we get into that, let's get off these exhaust manifold studs. Looked like I was about to lose one. Don't use the insert area where it calls out for like a number 3 or something like that, that little hole. Don't use that on the studs to pull those out. Just do the double nut method. It's much easier. I didn't have a 3 laying around in a socket or for a socket, and I thought maybe my handhelds would get it. They did not, so I just opted to do the 2 nut method to pull them off. And that was it. I'm going to install these new ones after I clean out the bottom threads, get rid of any RTV, anything like that out of the oil galley that's on the lower ones. And then we'll move on to the turbo and O2 housing. This is the single scroll Hotside. This is the twin scroll new Hotside. This thing should be spooling like crazy, and I'm gonna have a blast with it. The only thing I need to do is install some hardware, some O2 studs, some studs over here, put some brass on it. I think the brass on the black is going to look great. And I'm currently debating on getting my downpipe and my O2 housing Cerakoted again, because the Cerakote's coming off and I know it didn't get that hot. So I think I might need to have it redone. It's not on my major to-do list, but it'd be nice. I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with those guys, but I'm also going to install this hardware. I think this is looking pretty good. I dig it. I'm digging the black on brass. I'm going to let those settle and cure for a little bit. And then I'm going to remove this turbo and I'm going to remove this hot side. Okay, I've never done a hot side before. So I think on this V-band clamp on this AGT 55, there's just a 10 mil little nut right there that you can get with a socket. So I'm going to take that off and I'm going to see how that goes. Woo! Don't know how readily visible it is, but there's a little hole right there. And on the housing, a little stud right there. So super hard to mess up. Now I just need to put the V-band on and put the wastegate on too, and then should be good to go. It's gorgeous. It's gonna look better on the car. I've done a couple hours on it, just replacing some stuff and reorganizing some things. I'll pick it back up tomorrow. Before this freaking GoPro battery dies again. Compressor gauge and makeshift wastegate tester. So this thing's set to do, I want to say it was 26. I'm going to show you guys how I'm testing that real fast. I got my little gauge right here. I'm going to give it some air. I'm going to start taking air away because I don't have this cool digital gauge. And about 25 is what I'm getting out of this. And I think 25 is more than enough. I think 25 is great. Hopefully that's what that'll do. I don't know. Gauge on there says something different than here. I don't know, man. But this is the first time I'm testing it like this, so here's to 25 psi. Wastegate's not moving. I think I've got everything set up properly. I think we're good. Well, did everything I think that I really can do while this turbo's off. Got new lines and everything going for the wastegate. I might need to make this one longer, but I'm going to try to make do with what I got. Because getting to that one screw is just a little too much of a pain. And I'm simply not wanting to get into that. So I think I'm going to just do my best to work with what I got. I might be able to get it going and I might be able to wrap it. I don't know. I'll see when I mock it up, but let's throw some new gaskets on. Let's get some hardware on there and let's bolt this thing up into the car tonight. Manifold turbo 2 housing and J-pipe. I think the hardware looks really great. Nobody's really going to be able to see it, but I'll know it's there with the valve cover shield and everything. I'm going to tidy up some things, hook up the oil return line and the water lines and the oil sending line. And then I think we can start putting, yeah, I think everything can start going together. Well, knew I was going to run into something. That middle fitting, I guess, took a beating and decided to tell me that it didn't want to work with me anymore. So I got to take this to Rob tomorrow. Should be grabbing the Hotside from him, and yeah, not what I was really expecting, but here we are. Well, GoPro camera decided to fail me again. So no Rob footage, but the threads on this guy have been cleaned up. We're going to install that, install the lines, get those routed properly, get that set up. And then we're going to install that seal. So that seal's been leaking. Been waiting to get this 2-inch socket to put it in. I think I could have used the PVC pipe, but just wanted to make sure I didn't damage anything. I'd rather use metal. Put some lines on this. I tried everything with this transfer case axle seal and ended up messing up the seal. Thought it was in straight, it wasn't, so it bent it. So I need to order a couple more from my local Mitsubishi store. Man, this thing continues just to put me in my place. I'm doing my boost leak check and that J-pipe gasket was leaking. Pulled it off. Put a new one on there. Hairsprayed that guy. Hairspray is the secret to not having leaks. Now this should not leak. Should. We'll continue with the boost leak and see if that's leaking. Man, really? Another L to add to the scoreboard. Another L. Looks like the fuel injectors aren't leaking, so that's cool. One thing after the other. Hey, the turbo's back off. One of the J-pipe threads was actually stripped. I just noticed it right now. I was boost leak checking and then a buddy came over. I got distracted. I re-tapped it, but man, that last bolt, I guess, stripped it out completely. I tapped what I could. I ended up having to throw the old one back in there just to get it to work. I'm a little irritated about that. Round 2, round 3, whatever it is, fight. And after all that work, it still leaks. Well, on our way back to Rob's to go get some helicoils installed. Shade pipe's not leaking. That's all I care about right now at this point in time. It is not leaking, it's not bubbling. I just gotta mess with this clamp to see if I can get it to sit any better. But other than that, I think we're gonna be golden. Thank you, Rob. After a very trying couple of days, I got a W, and I'm gonna roll with it. Turbo's on, hot side, well, the cold side with the turbo, manifold and O2 housing are on. I'm saving the downpipe until I do the axle seal. It's just a couple of V-bands, so I'm not really worried about it at this point in time. I'm gonna take this W. We don't have any leaks. We don't have any boost leaks. Man, that was rough. I was a little scared there for a little bit. I was definitely down and I was in my feelings. I'll take this W. I'll take it. Axle seals installed, finally, after a couple of days for the parts getting to me. Those things fight every time, and I'm also embarrassed because while I'm lucky that I did not record at the time, while I had this up against the seal into the transfer case to install the seal, it's the closest thing I had, this thing fell on my face because I let it go. Who would have thought? Gravity. So I got rocked in the mouth. I got a little fat lip or a big one. I can't really tell, but I can feel it. We should go fill up this T case and make sure it doesn't leak. Just got done putting the rear down. When you're filling your T case, you need to be as level as possible for you to get, I think it's 0.6 quarts. I'd like to say I'm making progress. Do these hoses, put my intake on. And then I think I'll be done for the night, which is rad, because I'm ready to be done with this thing. Well, the time has come. Gonna be bleeding the radiator and the coolant system. Hopefully the downsizing of injectors and switching to a twin scroll turbo is not too much of a difference in the fuel map. I'd like to be able to take this to import face-off just to have there. And yeah, I should have everything done. I've done a boost leak check. I'm not too worried about an exhaust leak check right now because I'm going to have some hot parts Cerakoted here shortly that need to be re-Cerakoted. Whew. Had to board up the house because we're having some tornado weather tonight, so had to take a sec to do that. Let's see if this thing does what I want it to. Car drove great after rescaling the 2150s to 1650s and then adding an additional 20% into the fuel map. It was a pretty good base map. There's a couple things we need to iron out. The downpipe and the O2 housing are already off getting Cerakoted. So now once we get those back on, get all the bolts tightened up and make sure that we don't have any exhaust leak and some new spark plugs, we'll be ready to tune. This was a really long process, and it was a lot longer than what I thought it was going to be. This was all over the course of what feels like a month and a half due to waiting on parts, weather, but I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks. It just felt like forever. I appreciate you guys watching the video. Dreamer do, it's up to you. Till next time.